So, good morning, guys. I make it just 11 o'clock now. So I would like to welcome you all along to our first webinar today with InvestinU and Westech. So today's session, as you know, at this stage is 7 top Excel tips that every pro should know. So again, look, this morning's session, I'll be running, I'm going to go through quite a few of the tips and tricks that I have used. I've been using Excel now for, my God, like 19, 20 years now at this stage. And I know a few of you who are joining us today have, fortunately or unfortunately, have sat through some of my sessions before. But anyway, I'm going to give you some of the tips and tricks that, I know that I use on a daily basis. And if you're an Excel user, that you'll use on a regular basis as well. And then at the end of the session, I'll give you kind of an idea of some of the other kind of sessions that we run. So again, if you like these kind of tips and tricks, be sure to kind of like our page. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, so you can like or share our pages as well, just to kind of get these kind of tips and tricks. We'll be posting these out. I generally post these out once a week. Just to kind of do a couple of introductions. I have my business partner, Cara Martin. She's going to be our moderator for today. So what I'm hoping is you can all hear me clearly. If you have any questions throughout the session, because we've got quite a few people on today's session, if you have any questions, what we kind of try to encourage is, if you look for the little chat area button, so if you look on your screen there, if you move the mouse around, you'll see there's a little toolbar that pops up, the Zoom toolbar, and you'll see there's a little chat button there. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to throw them up through the session. Cara, the moderator, she'll take care of those questions, or if there's any kind of big questions, in between sessions, she will kind of throw those questions my way. That's not to say, come the end of the session, I will open the floor to any kind of questions you have. There's no problem there as well. I'd also like to say a quick hello to Westech as well. So we're running this in conjunction with Westech. We have John. I don't know if Kenny has joined us today. But there's John. John will say a quick hello there. John, if you wanted to say a quick hello just before I kick off.
Hi, thanks, Owen. Yeah, it's great to have this webinar together with Westech. Kenny can't make it yet, but yeah, like if anybody has any questions for Westech, feel free to reach out to me. You can get me John at westtech.ie as well, or else I'll also be checking the chat. So yeah, thanks very much, Owen, and look forward to learning about your tips.
No problem. Thanks a million, John. So again, as I said, any questions, please. I try to keep these sessions as interactive as possible. As I said, I've been using Excel for kind of 19, 20 years. And what I want to do today is kind of give you an idea of the feel for Excel, but I want to give you an idea of a feel for how we run our webinars. So, if you're looking to kind of run a couple of these for your company or whatever it is, that this gives you a very good feel of what it's all about. So as I said, any questions, please don't be afraid to throw them up there. Don't be afraid to kind of throw a couple of questions. Cara gets very lonely during these sessions, so don't be afraid to say hi or throw her up a question or whatever. But again, also just to say that this session will be recorded or is being recorded. So again, we will be putting this up on our website. We'll be putting up on LinkedIn, Facebook, so you can get and listen over this again as well. So look, rather than talk about all of this, what I'd like to do is just get stuck straight into today's session. I'm not one for kind of big PowerPoint sessions, but we've also mentioned that we're InvestinU and we're running this in conjunction with Westech as well. And you can see we'll be kind of talking briefly about all of that at the end of the session. So what's today's session all about? Well, look, just to kind of say very, very quickly, I'm using Excel 365 today, or as it's called, Microsoft 365. So this is the latest version. Now, the one thing I will say to you is when I'm running these sessions and I'm doing this pre-pandemic, when I was running this classroom-based or, seminar stuff, what I would say to a lot of users out there, the tips you're going to see today really doesn't make a difference if you're using, Excel 2010 or Excel 2013 or 365, because a lot of these tips will work across the board. And that's the great part about it. So if you suddenly look at this and go, oh, well, actually, I'm using Excel 2016 or I'm using 2010, it doesn't make a difference. These tips, the majority of these tips will work across the board. And that's the thing, guys. And you probably know this. There's Excel 2010, Office 2010, 2013, 2016, 2019, 365, and then it can depend on the version you're using as well with all of those. But all of these will fortunately work across board, and that's great. Now I have 7 top tips, but here's the good news. I'm going to give you a lot more than 7 top tips. I'm going to give you as many as I can condense into this session and keep it entertaining as well. And as I said, don't be afraid to kind of throw those questions up there as well. So just kind of get, look, as I said, I'm not a big fan of just kind of going through the presentation. I prefer to get stuck in. Here's some of the ones we're going to talk about. Lovely Format Painter. I know you're probably using it. What I've discovered over many years is most people only know half of what that tool is capable of. I want to show you the brilliant, just a couple of things. Brilliant flash fill tool. I mean, when you see this tool, if you've not seen this tool and you take nothing else out of this session, I guarantee it'll be that flash fill tool. It's just super. Now, I'm hoping that you do take a lot more than just the flash fill tool out of it, but that's kind of how the session works. Look, let me step out of it. I'm just going to come out of my PowerPoint presentation there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up Excel. Now, I've opened up Excel. So this is now kind of 365. So this is the screen you're greeted with. And this changed, the start screen changed since they brought out Excel 2013. So if I've got any users out there like me that's been using this product for years, now you're going to find, by the way, I'm very enthusiastic when it comes to Excel because I'm a big, big fan of it. I'm a big fan of most of the Microsoft products, but I'm a big fan of Excel because over the years I've discovered how this product works, and I just know how much time this has saved me learning these kind of things, and how much time, and how, with every new release, the new stuff they bring out all the time, and there's just some brilliant stuff. But what you're seeing now, and this came out in Excel 2013, it's called the start screen. So anybody who's using an older version, when you'd open up Word or you'd open up Excel or PowerPoint or any of these Microsoft products, it would bring you into that document, like a blank workbook, blank Word document, blank presentation. The difference now is it brings to the search. Now, the reason I want to mention this very, very quickly, I just want to talk about a couple of things here that I really, really like. The first one is this. I mean, it's amazing how many people, even with the start screen, what did they do? They initially open Excel and they're straight into that blank workbook. But what I want to kind of point out today, and maybe you've spotted it, maybe you haven't, is the brilliant, brilliant templates. Free, like today's session, free templates. So Microsoft have a dedicated team out there, and all they do is they build these fantastic templates, okay? But here's the thing, they've been building these templates for donkey's years, but nobody seemed to know about them, okay? So what they're doing now is they're just making them that bit more obvious. That's why they have this lovely start screen. And what I want to point out here is, think about this. The next time you're building something in Excel, okay? How much time have you kind of gone in and spent time designing stuff? And when in actual fact, Microsoft may have a template that's pretty much what you need. So what I'm going to say to you is this. The next time you're about to build something in Excel, okay? Just before you go into that blank workbook, have a look over here. So these are all the templates. So if I want to see more templates, I just click on more templates. And once I've got instant access, it'll give me a listing of all the different types of templates that are right there. Now, that's only a small select few because look, it even categorizes them: business, personal, planners and trackers, lists, budgets, you name it. You can even search for a few. So if I was looking for, I'm going to go into the business category. Look, it goes off and searches, and you can see there's a whole range of stuff in here. So if I pick, I'm just going to pick one off the bat. You can see here one here called General Ledger with Budget Comparison. Select it. Okay, it gives you a little synopsis of what this is all about. I click on Create. Look at that. Okay, that's now mine to do what I like with. So you can see, look, year-to-date budget, monthly expenses, itemized expenses, charitable sponsorships, you name it, it's all in there. It gives you little descriptions of what it's about. So a bit of hyperlinks. Each of these have all their formulas set in. The only thing is, okay, obviously in Europe here we use, or in Ireland here, we use euro. But because these are designed in the States, you can see they're all using dollar. But we know if you use Excel, that's only a little simple formatting change. Good news about this is, even if it's only half of what you need, How good is that? At least you've got that ball rolling, that you don't always have to start from scratch. And that's the fantastic part about it. And you can see there's quite a selection of templates, excuse me, of templates out there. Word have them, PowerPoint have them. Like the only application I ever really use them in is PowerPoint, because, well, if I'm creating a PowerPoint presentation, I'll use the InvestinU. Equally, whatever company you're working for, you would use that company template. But there's some brilliant ones in Word and Excel. If you don't like it, simple fix, look, file, close, don't need to save it, and you can see it's gone. Want to go back into it again, look, file, new, and there's all the templates. Okay, now I'm going to go back, and again, I just wanted to kind of point these things out very quickly, but it's amazing how many people I've come across over the years haven't discovered these templates yet. So I just wanted to point that out straight away. The other one for me is this and this start screen. So think about this. You work with, say you work with Excel on a daily basis. Chances are you go in and out of the same files on a regular basis, right? Yeah, I mean, most people do. So if you think about it, what are you doing currently? Are you opening Excel, go into blank workbook, then go to file, open, and navigating to that file? But in actual fact, the start screen will show you 10 of the most recent documents that you've gone in and out of. So the most recent documents. So think about this. So imagine I have one here called, I've got one here called Attendees Report. Okay. Now imagine this is one that I'm going to be going in and out of on a regular basis. Now it's number, I think it's number 5 on the list there. So if I open up under 5 or 6 documents, guess what? That's going to get pushed off the list. But this is one I'm going to go in and out of on a regular basis. So what it allows you to do is pin. See the little pin here? I can pin that document. And what it does, look, it sits it up the top of that document and it will not move until I unpin it. So for the next day, week, month, year of me going in and out of that file, guess what I only have to do now? Look, if I close out of Excel here, I'm going to open up Excel again. Excel. Oh, look, there's my attendees report. It sits in that list. It's pinned. Okay, you can pin the most recent documents. And that's why, guys, that start screen is so good. Okay, and you've got something very similar in Word and PowerPoint too. All right, that's why they call it the start screen, and I just wanted to kind of start with that one, get the ball kind of rolling. Now, the next bit I wanted to look at was how about going into a blank workbook and showing you a few things in here. Okay, now look, I have to say, from using Excel over the last 19, 20 years, Excel has grown massively. I'm going to bring you back to an older version, very, very popular, Excel 2003. Used it for many years. Brilliant little product. Okay. Now, the problem that many people had was the limitations. Each individual worksheet in Excel in 2003 and previous versions had 65,536 rows, 256 columns. That was per worksheet. And I used to get many users say to me, do you know what, we could be importing 100,000 rows. And what we were having to do was split it across sheets. Now that became harder then to analyze if it's in different sheets. Or the other one then was, and I came across this a few times, where people would build a kind of a middle like Access, for example. So what they would do is they take their data dump, bring it into Access, condense it down with queries, and pull it down into Excel. So it's more manageable that way. Okay, that is until Excel 2010. So 2010, 13, 16, and all now have 1,048,576 rows. It now has 16,356 columns. Okay, kind of gives you an idea of how big Excel has gotten. But here's the good news, and here's the thing, and I get it quite a bit, and it's one of the areas we specialize in InvestinU. I have users say to me, "Oh, what happens if the 1 million rows isn't enough?" Well, I don't have it switched on at the moment, but there's a feature, and I'm sure if you've used Excel enough, you've heard of Power Pivots, these new Power tools, Power BI, these new business intelligence tools. If you're using Excel 2016 right up to 365, you can switch on these new Power tools, Power Pivots they're called. And one of the massive advantages you have with Power Pivots is you can work with hundreds of millions of rows. Okay, so it gives you, so effectively it's like building a database in the background of Excel. Okay, now unfortunately today I don't have the time, and I promise you I could talk for Ireland on just those alone, but we're going to concentrate on the tips and tricks. I just wanted to show you the basic sheet. So when you open up that workbook for the first time, when you have that single worksheet, you're working with 1,000,000+ rows, 16,000+ columns. Fantastic. And for the average user, that is plenty. Actually, for the average user, they don't even go near 1,000,000 rows, but it gives you the option. So here's the thing. When I open up, maybe you've noticed this, when I open up a workbook in Excel, have you noticed the default number of worksheets have changed? It used to be 3, it's now 1. Okay, but here's the thing. You can change that default. You can change it from 1 right up to 255. Now I have to say, in all the years of using Excel, I've yet to come across anybody who wants 255 worksheets opening up as a default every time they open up a blank workbook. But the good news is you can change it. So if you said, well, you know, on average I use 10 or 20 or 30 different worksheets, you can change it, the default, and it's very easy. Here's how you do it. Simple. I've gone into my blank workbook. I'm just going to go up to my File tab here, and I'm going to come straight down to Options. So I'm going to effectively go into the settings of Excel here. So File and Options. This opens up the Excel Options dialog box, and you can see I've got General selected on the left, and on the right-hand side, okay, you can see about 3 quarters of it down, you can see it says include this many sheets. Now, if I hover over this, this should tell me I can enter, look, any whole number between 1 and 255. So I'm going to change that. Okay, I'll change it to, I'm going to change it to 15. I want 15 worksheets opening up every single time. So select it. I can use the arrow keys, by the way, I can type it in, that's completely up to you. And I click OK. Now, what do you notice? Nothing has changed. What I want you to remember here is when you use these Microsoft products, the setting only kicks in the next time you open up that product. Okay, a lot of times. So if I close out of this, watch, File, and I close, still in Excel, by the way. See the way I'm not clicking on the X? It's one I find people doing all the time. They're closing out the application, but then have to go reopen it again. So I've just gone File and Close, staying within the application, just closing the workbook. And if I open up a brand new one, File, New, blank workbook, or if you like the shortcut keys, guys, Control N, N for new. Okay, blank workbook. Excuse me. And look, default number of worksheets have changed. Now I know again, you're thinking, yeah, okay, that's not really a tip, that's more of a setting change. But what it's doing is it's leading me to the first tip that I want to show you. And that is navigating those worksheets. So I want you to think, for those of you that use Excel on a regular basis, think about this. When you open up one of the workbooks you work on a regular basis, does it have a multitude of worksheets in there? Does it have 10, 20, 30, 40 different sheets in there? Okay, or all 255. Okay, and by the way, just to mention, not to get too sidetracked, you can go over the 255. The default is 255. You can open up a workbook to have between 1 and 255, but you can go way past. And the only reason I mentioned this is I came across a client a number of years ago. It's an exact ply you always use. So anybody who's been on my sessions probably knows this one already. But anyway, it was a client I came across who was creating a report for every day of the year. So what they didn't want was 365 individual files, individual workbooks. So what they built was a workbook that contained it all, because you can go way past the 255. They had 365 for every day of the year. And it was only small reports in each one, but they were able to contain it within the one, just the default. So imagine their biggest problem was trying to navigate those 365 sheets. So imagine you suddenly went, do you know what, I need to get to day 170. You'd be there, down the left, you'd probably come across these 2 navigation keys here before. Much older versions, there was 4 of them. Okay, but you'd be there all day. Now I've only got 15, but you'd be there all day trying to navigate back and forth, right? So the first little tip this morning is this. The next time you're navigating a workbook that has a multitude of worksheets in it, come down to the 2 navigation keys, or the 4 if you're using 2010, right click, and look what it does. It produces a brilliant little list of all the sheets that exist in that worksheet. So if I want to go to sheet 10, please click OK. Now I could have clicked on it there because it's right there, but I just, think about much bigger workbooks. Okay, so if I right click, look, back to sheet 1, click OK. Right click, sheet 15, click OK, and you can see a the whole navigating side of things becomes that little bit easier. Okay, so simple, right click, select the sheet, click OK. All right, now just to add to that one. So think about the workbook that had the 365. Now you're on sheet 1, and I said to you, we need to get to day 365. Okay, so you could now use the lovely tip I gave you, but then you have to scroll down or whatever. So nice, another little tip to have is this. If you want to jump to either the very first worksheet or the very last worksheet in the workbook, okay, come down again, just come down to your navigation keys. But this time, hold down the shift key and then left click on the right, look, jump to the sheet 15, left click, hold down the shift key, jump to the left, and it jumps you either to the very first worksheet or the very last. If you want to jump to individual ones, right click and you've got your lovely list. If you want to jump to the very first or the very last, hold in your shift key and either left click on the left or left click on the right. And you can see, it just makes the whole navigating side of things that little bit easier. And here's another one. And again, I'm just kind of throwing these out there, but this is another one I get asked, right, oh, that's great, but what if I don't have a mouse? And I'm using a laptop and I don't like using my touchpad. And is there a shortcut way of doing that? And clearly there is, or I never would have brought it up in the first place. But anyway, and here it is. The next time you want to navigate a worksheet, there's a multitude of worksheets, and you want to use a shortcut key, hold in your control key and use page down to move to the right. See this, look, control. And remember, this is something I know people get mixed up with. I'm doing control, not my arrow keys, but I'm using page up and page down. So control page down moves you to the right, control page up moves me back the other way. So it just makes the whole navigating side of things that little bit easier. And you can probably see in the chat area, Kara's putting up these kind of tips as I'm going through them as well, the shortcuts and stuff like that as well. Okay, so control page down, control page up moves you back the other way. Again, look, is it going to save hours off your workload? No, but it just makes it a little bit easier, right? You're navigating something you do on a regular basis. So why not make it that bit easier? And everything. Nice little way of kind of getting the ball rolling. Now, here's the thing. Since we're talking about these worksheets, let me start giving you some of mine. Now, they're good tips now. Let me start giving you really, like, some of my favorite little ones to have out there, okay? That really, over the years, have just saved me so much time. The first one I'm going to show you here, okay? Actually, just before I go into the worksheets, let me show you one because it will be kind of tied into something that I'm doing here. It was one I mentioned earlier on. It's called the Format Painter. Now, the Format Painter, you can see it here. If I go to my Home tab, there it is there, little Format Painter, little paintbrush, okay? And I know a lot of you out there are probably using this. What I have found over the years is most people only know half of what this tool is capable of. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to put in the 12 months of the year here. So I'm going to put in, let me just zoom in here so we can see this a little better. So I'm going to type in Jan here, grab my little autofill in the bottom right-hand corner, copy this across till I get to December. I'm going to take those 12 headings, copy them, put them into row 10, and put them into row 20. And you know what? Let's go into another sheet here and do the same thing. And I'll just zoom in here so you can see this a little better. Okay. Now, I select set I want. So imagine I said to you guys, right, do you know what? I want to apply a bit of formatting to all my headings, but I want consistency. And this is something, this is key. This is something I talk about to all my users when we're designing spreadsheets. It's all about consistency. So I want to make sure that if I apply a bit of formatting to one heading, all my headings have the same format. Okay, so watch this. I select the cell, click on, let's bold it. Let's change the background color to this kind of dark navy. I want to see the color, so I'm going to change the font to white. I'm maybe going to center it. Okay, and I'll even change the font size. So you can see I've made a few little formatting changes, nothing too drastic. Okay, and the great news is, by the way, it doesn't matter what type of formatting you're doing here. Could be basic formatting, custom formatting, the brilliant tool called Conditional Formatting, okay, which is a session I run all the time. Fantastic tool, this Conditional Formatting option. Okay, if you're not using it, it's definitely something you should be using. Okay, but there it is there. There's a little bit of formatting. And I've clearly forgotten to highlight the other 11 headings. So what I'd like to do here is take the format that's in the cell and apply it across the board. Now, if you've used the Format Painter before, this is the bit you know. So you would select the cell, right? You would click once on your Format Painter. If you look at my cursor now, it's got the paintbrush beside it. All it's waiting for me to do is highlight the new area. And I let go, and look what it does. It copies the formatting from one area to another. Now, as I said to you, if that was something, if that was a tool you're already using, that's the bit you already knew. But what if I said to you, apply that formatting to multiple areas? So, and this is again, just from experience, what a lot of people would do is this: select a cell, format painter, highlight. Select the cell, format painter, highlight. And they're back and forth to the format painter every time they want to use it. But here's how it actually works. If you know you want to use the format painter once, you click on it once. If you know you need to use it multiple times, you double click. By double left clicking, now, watch, I can apply that formatting as many times as I need. And look, I can keep going into different worksheets here, keep applying that formatting. And as soon as I'm done, either hit the escape key or click back on the format and switch it off. I mean, how good is that? If you were doing the back and forth, okay, there's a lovely time saver for you, okay? But again, maybe you knew about that double click, but it's a fantastic one. The good news is that works across the board. So with Word, PowerPoint, wherever that format painter exists, you have the same options in there. Here's the bad news, if you're only discovering this. That's not new. That double click's not new. As long as the format painter has been around, so has that double click. Just a lot of people don't know that. They use it, but don't use it to the full extent. All right, now, moving on. So let me show you, okay, I'm gonna kind of group these kind of two together. But these kind of would be two of my, even though I love all my tips, these are two of my favorite ones because I know how much time these really, really do save me. Okay, so I'm going to do one tied in with the second, and I'm going to show you a few more options with that and tie them all together. Okay, have a look at this. So imagine I'm creating a workbook here. I'm going to call this one 2020. I'm going to create a second worksheet here, and look down to the bottom here, call that one 2021. I'm going to create a third one here called 2022, and let's create a fourth one here called 2023. So you can see clearly I have 4 worksheets here, from 2020 right to 2023. Now here's the thing. I want to build a nice, formatted, formulated list in 2020, okay? But guess what? I want that exact same list with the exact same formats and formatting in 2021, 2022, and 2023. If I was to ask the average user out there to do that for me, what would they do? What would you do? More than likely, you're going to build in 2020, right? And copy and paste. Okay, most common way. First thing that most people do. The problem with copy and paste is when you copy from one sheet, I'm sure you can all relate to this one. Sometimes your column widths don't come across, sometimes your formulas don't. So what do? You spend the next 5 minutes trying to tidy it up as you go on. But here's the thing. This next tip gets around it, and it's simply called group selecting. So this tip is called group selecting. Have a look at this. So I have an idea of what I'm going to build here, right? And I want it in 4 sheets. Now I'm doing this across 4 sheets, but you could do this across all 255 if you wish. Okay? Before I start, and this is the key, before I start building this list, what I need to do is take the first sheet, hold down my shift key, and select the last sheet of that group. Now, if you look down at my worksheet tabs here, see the way those kind of 4 sheets have gone a white color, from gray to white. Okay, they are now temporarily grouped. Now, if you look up my title bar, you can see it's saying group, so it's in group mode. So I'm still in sheet 2020, but I've just included 2021, 2022, and 2023. So the shift key allows me to do those groups. Now, by the way, if you want to do every kind of second or third one, use your control key so you can pick individuals that way. Shift key allows you to do them all, groups like that. Remember, I'm still in 2020. Watch this. Now, I'm not going to, by the way, when I'm building this, I'm going to keep it nice and simple. I'm not going to do anything too drastic here. But I'm going to type in Jan up the top here, grab my lovely autofill, drag this across so we get to December. Let's do that lovely formatting that we had earlier on. Send the information. Do you know what? And I'm going to give you a little tip within a tip. I give this to all my classes, all my users when I'm doing stuff like this. The amount of times, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this one, how many times have you been sent a spreadsheet, you open it up and you're nearly blinded with the colors that people use in them? And often it's just because I want to get certain areas to highlight. So here's a nice little tip within a tip. So if I want a certain area to highlight, don't get me wrong, by the way, I still use colors, but watch this. One of the options I like is this lovely borders button. Okay, so when I go basic, I want the user to know this is where they're going to be entering the data. So I'm going to make it visually obvious. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to use one called all border. What this does is simply puts a border around all the cells. Okay, so you can see it just makes it a bit more, stands out that little bit more. So now what I'm thinking is, do you know what? I don't really need these grid lines, right? So why don't we get rid of the grid lines? Now again, think about this one and see, I've seen it happen, seen people do it all the time. Again, just speaking from experience. If I said to get rid of the grid lines, I've seen people try to highlight absolutely everything. They're coming up to the background color here, the tin of paint, the fill color, setting that to white and so on and so forth. You don't want the grid lines. It's this simple. You go to your view tab and you switch them off. Okay, no more grid lines, but you've got your lovely border. So see the way now it kind of stands out that bit more. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a nice little formula just so we can see formulas working here too. So it says sum up any values that go into January, press and enter, and then I'm going to copy that lovely formula across, very simple. So I want it for the 11 or the 12 months of the year. So it's just, you know, and again, then I'm thinking, do you know what? It'd be great, let's put a nice euro bit on top of this. So currency, euro, and it's euro. Now, again, I'm not going to go into a huge amount here, but I'm not, there's my lovely formatted, formulated list. But remember, before I built that, what did I do? I group selected first. Okay, so with that in mind, I now want to start putting my figures in for 2020, but obviously I don't want the same figures going into 2021. So what I need to do now is I need to deselect those 3 or 4 sheets. And there's a couple of ways you can do it. Simple way, you can actually just pick a sheet that's not part of that group and select it, and it deselects these. Or you can right click and just say ungroup sheets, and you can see it ungroups them. But here's the fantastic part. Remember group select. There's 2020, where you just saw me create that lovely list. But without one single copy and paste, look, there's 2021, there's 2022, there's 2023. I mean, how good is that? But if you know you're building something in Excel that you need across multiple sheets, there's no more copy and paste. Put it into group mode and let it do the work. Now, much and all is that's brilliant. Okay, there's 2 scenarios, effectively, there's probably a few, but there's 2 scenarios that I know of that won't work with. And I've done this myself by accident. You build a list, put your lovely formulas in, you spend the time designing, and then suddenly go, oh, do you know what I forgot to do? My group select. Okay, so there's no point in doing the group select now. So now you're thinking, oh, I have to use the copy and paste. Not really. Well, here's the other scenario. What if I now need a 2024 version of that? Okay, now there's a couple of ways people will do this. You know the first one. Most people will try and highlight, copy and paste. There'll be no problems with that. The other one then is right click, and you can see there's an option here called move or copy. But then you've got to remember to tick the boxes, right? To copy, tell you where I'm moved to. So get around it, much quicker, much easier. The next time you want to duplicate. So you'll notice I'm using the word duplicate now as opposed to copy, but duplicate a worksheet of any workbook. It's this simple. Left click on the worksheet tab as if you're about to move it. But just before you do, hold down the control key and drag that across. And look what it does. Instantly duplicates the worksheet for you. I mean, how brilliant is that? So if I now come in here and go, right, well, that's now 2024. Brilliant. See that? Left click, hold down the control key at the same time, drag it across. Keep your finger on the control key, look at the left mouse button, duplicates the worksheet for you. Absolutely brilliant. So the next time you're working in Excel, later on today, whenever that is, and you've got something you need to duplicate, a worksheet you need to duplicate, left click, control, drag and drop. But I'm going to add an extra little piece to that. Okay? So think about this. You've done 2024, you put the figures in. So you duplicate it, right? So guess what that does? It duplicates all the figures. So now you have to come in, you have to delete all those figures, which can lead to accidentally deleting your formulas. So I want to give you an extra tip on top of that. So actually what I tend to do is this. I'm going to delete those other ones. So imagine that's the first one I've created. Okay, actually I'm just going to get rid of these 2 here for a second, right? So here it is here, 2020. Okay. But here's the thing, I'm going to obviously put my figures in for 2020, but when I want 2021, then I duplicate it, but I have to delete all the figures that go into that. Or you could just do this. The very first one you create, call that right? So now, when you're duplicating, don't duplicate from last year's, duplicate from your template every single time. So when I want 2020, look, left click, control, drag and drop, there's 2020. Brilliant. So now when I need 2021, guess what? Don't duplicate 2020, go to your template, left click, control, drag and drop, there's 2020. Absolutely fantastic. Okay. But guess what? It gets even better. Okay. Think about this one, right? You built this one. This is the one you've been working on. Next month, next quarter, next year rolls around. And you need to build yourself a nice formatted, formulated list. And you think to yourself, do you know what? I have a workbook that I've done this in. That has a lovely template that I could exactly use. Remember, you've opened up a blank workbook. I just hit Control N there, N for new. Okay, there's my blank workbook. And I'm thinking, yeah, this would be great now if I could take that template so you could try and copy it across or whatever. But watch this. Now, currently, I only have 2 workbooks open. Excuse me. Book 2 and Book 3. Now, don't worry about the names. They'd be saved normally, that kind of thing. But if I now, watch, go to my View tab, singling my View tab is a button called Arrange All. What this is going to do is it's going to arrange, and I'm just going to choose tiled here. You can do horizontal, vertical, cascade, that's up to you. And I click OK. And what it does is it sits the 2 current workbooks that I've opened side by side. Now just be careful with that one, because anybody who uses Excel on a regular basis always knows that you never just have 1 or 2 workbooks, you could have 10 open. If you go View and Arrange All, and you've got 10 open, guess what? All 10 are going to get arranged. So if I only want these 2 sitting side by side, but look, there's the lovely workbook. I've done all the hard work, my lovely template. Okay? But guess what? If I left click, hold down the Control key, you can drag and drop from one workbook to the other, just like that. That is just brilliant. And that's why I said to you earlier on, when we started this session, when we started this one off, I said to the group selecting, the control, just the duplicating, just 2 of my favorite little tips when it comes to Excel, because I use them. And you can see why, and I'm hoping at this stage, a few of you getting that what I call the light bulb moment. Oh my God, that's where I could use it. I was spending hours doing stuff like that. Okay? Spend the time. And this is the brilliant part about those things. They will save you a whole heap of time when it comes to them. Okay? Now, what I want to kind of do is, I'm just kind of watching the clock here at the same time. I don't want to keep you. As you probably gathered now, I really could keep talking about Excel all day long. I'm not going to, but we could. But I want to give you kind of a few of these kind of tips and tricks as we go through. So what I'd like to do then is I want to show you one other, actually, it's a very simple one, just to kind of get the ball rolling here. And it's something they've introduced to kind of some of the later versions of Excel. Okay. Now, the next kind of 2 tips I'm going to give you, even though I did start the session off saying the majority of what we're going to cover today is all will work across the board. Now, unfortunately, here's the bad news. The next 2 I'm going to give you only work from kind of 2013 onwards. Okay. So if you're using 2010, okay, these 2 tips won't really work. One of them, very simple, selecting. So imagine I said to you, select the January column. So all I'm doing is clicking and dragging. And then I want you to select the March column. So I hold down the Control key, and I can do that. And then I said to you, select the May column, and I can do that. And then I said, select the July column, but you accidentally select the June column. So what would you normally do? In the older versions, you now have to click away and reselect. Whereas with the latest versions of Excel, if I hold down the Control key again, it now allows me to deselect. So rather than having to click away to deselect everything again, and then I can continue on, then you can see, oh, done one too many there. See that? I mean, how good is that selecting and deselecting? When it comes to highlighting stuff like that, you can see much, much easier. Okay, there's no more clicking away to deselect it to do it again. You can see the selecting and deselecting works really, really well. And that was, again, just when it comes to formatting or any aspect of Excel, that's a really good one to have as well. Now, I want to move on to a brilliant one. Now, again, what I'm going to say here is this little kind of tip I want to give you is, this is not really a tip, so to speak. It's one of the new features of Excel. Okay, it came out in Excel 2013, but I just love showing people this tool. Okay, so I incorporate it into my tips because it's more of a, hey, look, did you know that this tool is brought out? And one of the things I love about this one is it also gives you an idea of some of the new stuff that Microsoft are bringing in all the time. With every new release of Excel, they're just bringing out new tools all the time that are just fantastic. And this flash fill is just one of them. Okay, now if you haven't discovered these, so here's what I'd say to you. If you were doing something very similar to what I'm doing here, splitting names, joining together, there's probably two tools you would have used. Text to column, okay, so splitting data, the old way of doing it. Or if I was joining data, maybe you've come across the formula called concatenate. Okay, now with the latest version of Excel, they now have concat, just a shorter version. Or if you wanted to join it even shorter without using concatenate or concat, you can use the ampersand to do that. But I want to show you the flash fill. Now this tool sits under your data tab, and here it is here. It's called the flash fill tool. Okay, what's even better about this tool is it has its own shortcut key too. Not that you need it, and not that you need to be clicking on the button, because I'm going to show you different ways you can do this. So how does this flash fill tool work? So here's the first one. Imagine I have a whole lot of names here, imported it in for whatever system I'm using, MailChimp, whatever. And I need to separate these out for mail merge purposes. Because obviously it's going to work much better if it's in a first name column and a last name column, rather than just a name column. So I need to split these out, right? So what do? Well, this is where the flash fill. Now, if you've done this before, look, over the years, I've come across many different ways of doing this. Probably text to column. Some of you probably use functions like left, right, mid. You probably know what I'm talking about there. Okay? But how good is this one? All it requires is one simple example of what you're looking for. So I've got the first name Adrian there. So I'm telling you, I want the first name pulled. Now, there's three ways you can do this. Give it the example, click on the cell below, come up to your data tab and click on the button. Or if you like your shortcut keys, you could simply use Control E. And look what it does. Because I gave it an example of what I'm looking for, look what it's done. I've gone right the way down to the end of that list for me, just like that. One simple example, and I hit Control E, bang, does the job for me. Okay? Or you could do this, watch. So I type in Conway, click the cell below. Then I type in Hegarty. So we'll see what I'm doing. I'm giving it the trend that I want. If I'm happy with that, guess what I do? Hit enter. How good is that? Some more text to column. I mean, not that text to column took a huge amount of time, but I mean, how much quicker and easier is that with the lovely flash fill tool? And that's just one example, by the way. Here's another one. What if you wanted to go the other way? What if you wanted to join those together? Okay, as I mentioned, you could have used concatenate, the newest one, concat, or maybe you've used the ampersand, much shorter way of joining data together. The ampersand does that for you, by the way. Okay, or you could just use flash fill. Watch this. Tell it what you want. So give it the example. So I want Adrian Conway, please. Okay, click on the cell below, Control E. I mean, how good is that? Or what if you said, well, actually, can we, maybe we start with the surname and a comma and then the first name. No problem, watch. Conway, comma, Adrian. Or what if you said to me, well, actually, we just take the first initial of the first name and then the last name. So look, A, Conway, there's the example. Look at that. I mean, it's doing the work for me. And that's the fantastic part about it. I mean, it's Excel. And this is the key, guys. This is what I try to get across. Whenever I'm doing any of my sessions, and I'm going to mention a few of them, the types of webinars that I do. I start with the simple stuff and I build, and I get my users to think, do you know what? It's not about you doing the work. It's about getting Excel to do it for you and discovering these new tools and the features that they have. Just make it so much easier. Let me give you another example. How about this one? I have all these names. These are all my employees. And I want to give them an email address with InvestinU in there. Okay? But look, there's the example. Adrian.conway@investinU.ie. Guess what? I hit Control E. And look what it does for me. Now, I do get people saying to me, well, what if the domain part slightly changes? What if it changes for different names? Well, then put a third column in with the domain, and then you give the example of what you want. That's, I mean, this, and you, I mean, there's just example number 3. I mean, there's 2 more. You're going to see this. Look, what about example number 4? How about this one? I have all these account numbers, but I need to kind of break them up using these dash 775 dash 576 dash 644. Now, obviously, for this to work properly, they all have to be the same number of digits. But look, I tell it what I want, and guess what? Flash fill does all the work for me. This is why, I mean, this is why I said to you, these are the kind of tools you're getting now when it comes to Excel. And the last and final one is what if you wanted to separate it. So you just, you know, you could be working, say, you know, count numbers, part numbers, whatever it is, and you want to take a certain piece of that out. I know there's a lot of you out there that have done stuff like that. And maybe you're trying to use the left and the right and those functions I mentioned before. Okay, or how about this one? Tell it what you need, and guess what? The flash will do the rest. Okay, so again, you can see the power behind these. I mean, just phenomenal when you see it. And this is why, you probably got this, but this is why I'm so enthusiastic. This is why I love Excel. Because if I'm enthusiastic about it, I know I can get others involved in it too, other people enthusiastic. And look, this is one of the reasons, guys, this is one of the reasons we mentioned, this is why we're running this free webinar, is to give people an idea of the kind of stuff that we do. And I'm going to give you an example of some of the webinars we run, because I run these on all different aspects of Excel, by the way. You know, so if you wanted to pick certain key topics, you can. I run one very popular one, by the way, on just lookups. If anybody uses Excel, I know you've either heard of lookups or you work with them on a daily basis. Talk about them all. I spend 45 minutes giving you the full ins and outs of what lookups can do. Pivot tables. I mean, they're the 2 most common areas I get asked. We customize our webinars too to fit around your company needs too as well. So you can pick topics. We've predefined ones, but you'll see all of that. But what I love about all of this, and by the way, and you're going to see this, and you know, for those of you that love these or love these kind of tips and tricks, you know, make sure you like our Facebook page, our LinkedIn, because I am putting these up on a weekly basis. And they're on our website as well, otherwise. So make sure you're liking and sharing all of those too. But just to show you, and I kind of want to tie it all together because I'm just going to finish off the session then. That'll round us off to the hour. But just to point out a couple of key areas. I don't know if you've noticed this, but Microsoft are now adding these new AI features to the application. Have you discovered the ideas button yet? Okay, and you'll get them, you get it. I don't know if anybody uses PowerPoint. I run a great seminar on our webinar on PowerPoint as well, but they now have a button called design ideas. I don't know if you spotted it. You could be working away in PowerPoint, you insert a new slide, you put a graphic in, and suddenly this design ideas task pane appears on the right hand side. It gives you ideas of what you can do with that graphic without you being graphic. You know, I've been told many times I'm not great with the graphic side of things, but how good my presentations look when Microsoft do it. Microsoft Excel has this lovely ideas button. And what it does is you can now click inside a data set, click on that button, and guess what it does? It gives you ideas on what you can do with it. Build a pivot table, or you could chart it doing this way, and it gives you just, I mean, you might not like any of them, but at least it's giving you that option. These are the brilliant parts. There are some absolutely fantastic stuff. And this is what I love. With every new release of Microsoft, something new, they're bringing out new stuff all the time. So look, guys, I just want to tie off the session itself. And again, just before I do, and I want to go into my little spiel here, I'm going to finish off with the last spiel. I promise I'm not going to go on too much about this, but just before I do, how are we on the questions? Everybody good, or?
Yeah.
Everybody's fantastic. That's great, and it's good that's what we like about these sessions. We always have a moderator in the background working away. Cara's working away there brilliantly. So as I said, this session is recorded, so we will be putting up the website, we'll be putting up on LinkedIn, Facebook. So if you'd like to kind of,
Just one more there.
yeah.
If you want to have a chat there, the last question.
The last, okay, let me just, sorry, I'm just bringing up the chat window here so I can see what kind of questions we've asked here. Where's the, it's working, the office.
Just a bit of.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen, which is incorrect. Thank you very much. Do you have any webinars on lookups and macros. Absolutely. You know, we have, absolutely, I have a specific one on lookups. So we do V&H lookups, or we could do a specific one on the new one called the X lookup. And I have one called Automating Excel. So it gives you the fundamentals of what you need when it comes to macros. So if you go to our website, www.investinU.ie, and go into the webinar section, you'll see the predefined ones. Or, and here's the good news, guys, and this is where we customize them, just to let you know. If you're running a session with your company, we can incorporate some of your files as well. That's the key. So when we do, and you can see, I'm just going to show you here, I don't want to bore you too much on this as well, but I just want to show you a couple of things here, some of the areas that we offer. So we have a full suite set of webinars, okay? So predefined ones straight off the shelf, okay? But we do have customized ones. And when I customize these and when I do my one-to-one sessions, online sessions, customized sessions, what we try to incorporate in InvestinU is we bring in the client's files. So it becomes, so, you know, if I'm talking, you know, if I'm talking to you about lookups, how much better is it if I'm using your data for your, you know, for if it's just for you or for a number of people? It just makes it so much easier when your staff, whoever it is, they can see it working with your own files. And that's one of the key aspects that we've changed here in InvestinU. It's not just general files like you've seen today, but we can incorporate the actual client's files as well, and that's one of the big ones. You can see we do kind of online customized training. There's the dashboards, there's the Excel automation, but we do have a full set of webinars as well, that you can pick off the shelf, or, you know, as I was saying to you there, you can have them customized as well. You can see, just, I'm going to point very, very quickly, and then I might let John Westek have a quick word as well if he needs to, but there's the web design. We do social media and SEO, by the way, guys. So if you've got your website, we do social media. So we'll do your blogs, whole kind of social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm trying to think of some of the other areas that we have. Sorry? Instagram. Sorry, yeah, drawing a blank there when it comes to these. We do logo design and branding, content creation. I mean, if you're posting stuff on Facebook, how much time do you actually have to do it? So look, we do that sort of thing as well, and your software development and database. So, by the way, you will get all of this on our website. You also have our email address. You'll get info@investinU.ie. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to kind of throw them our way regarding any of this. And as I said to you, we will be posting these up on our Facebook page, LinkedIn. So keep an eye on those, guys. You know, make sure you get liking all these as well. So thank you, guys. Great little session. I think all the questions have been answered. I don't know, just before we sign off, has anybody any questions? I'll pass you over to John now in a second, but just before I sign off myself, has anybody any questions that they want to throw, or everybody happy enough? We're all good. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, look, I don't know, John, if you wanted to have a quick word just before you sign off there, John.
Thanks, Owen. Yeah, listen, fantastic webinar. Really enjoyed that. Just in terms of the web design, if for testimonials straight away, you can just look at westtech.ie, because you made a great website for Westtech. So if anyone wants to check that out, just to get an idea of that already. So yeah, brilliant. Really enjoyed that. And just one more thing, if anybody wants to try speed networking, there is an event on this afternoon, 5 o'clock. So basically, it's a way to have one-on-one conversations with other business directors and professionals. It's kind of a fun way to network. So I just put a link in the chat there. It's on a platform called Hopin. So welcome to join that. And yeah, it's been great going through those tips and tricks. I'm going to test them out now myself, and hopefully to learn more in future another time. So yeah, it's, again, if anyone has any questions about anything, do get in touch with Owen or Cara. Likewise, you can reach out to myself or anyone at the Westtech team, and we'll go from there. So thanks a lot, Owen.
Thanks a million, John. Thanks a million, guys. So we're going to sign off now. Great little session. As I said, keep an eye out on the website, on our LinkedIn and Facebook, because we will be running one or two of these over the next while as well. But as I said, we offer a full set of these too for company person, individual person as well. So don't be afraid to drop us a line. So thanks a million, guys, and have a good day. Thanks a million.